Kia ora. Welcome to my morning ramble, Friday, July the 8th, 2022. Just a warning before we get into this one for anyone who's watching. This and probably the next one or two are going to deal with topics such as suicide, death, murder, homicide if you like, filicide, PTSD, grief, loss, just, potential triggers for some people, and I didn't want to go into this without giving you a warning ahead of time. So if this is going to be a problem, you've gotten this far, then you probably want to switch off now and go and do something else. Maybe flag this as something that you don't want to watch. I'll give you 30 seconds or so just while I trot down the lane. Very overcast day. Fairly poetic thunderstorms coming. Maybe, who knows. Alright. I knew that when I started doing this ramble, if I could actually meet my goal, which was to keep doing it, as I've talked about, catharsis, or just proving that I can actually do it, that it would overlap with what I refer to as the really bad day, which is a bit of a misnomer because it's not really the really bad day, or the actual really bad day even. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm probably going to talk about. And if you don't, well, hey, this is up on YouTube now, so no doubt there will be discussion, which is fine. All right, let's talk about loss and life-changing events. So in biological terms, because I'm from New Zealand, so we're getting pretty close to what would have been the birthday of my second son, Dominic. He would have been 21, which is a really big day. And I'm sure that his half-brothers would have been very proud of him, and I know that they still are, so yeah. So it makes today and tomorrow, because his birthday is on the 9th of July, challenging. And the reason for this is that he's dead, and no amount of videos or grief or prayer or cajoling or anything will change that. He died not long after his 8th birthday, so it's coming on 13 years. And it just doesn't get easier sometimes. It hurts, and that hole is big and very, very hard to fill. In fact, I don't think you ever can fill it. For those of you who've lost a child, you know what kind of hole that is. And I'm sorry for you, for your loss, and for your having to go through this as well. It's something that, as a parent, you never want to go through. The circumstances, however, make it worse. And I'm not going to go into all the gory details, because 2008 and leading into 2009 were horrific years, to say the least, and they didn't end particularly well. Well, maybe 2009 was a little better, I don't know. But here's the general circumstances for those that don't know. My late wife had been struggling with mental health. She had a lot of demons that she had not resolved, and when things got tough, it just added another weight too much for her, I think, and in the end those demons consumed her. And I attribute some of that to emotional psychology, childhood issues, and again, I'm not going to go into it. It's her business. It's for her to say, and she's not here to say it. But at the end, she was on some very, very heavy medications, antipsychotics, antidepressants, pills, which we thought were making her better, and seemed to be. Anyway, so around all this, trying to make a normal life as best as normal could be. And I came home from work 7:02 p.m. on a Friday night, and on the 17th of July, and I found their bodies, and that was rough. He said, understating it. And at this time of the year, even though we're not at that date, the unfortunate thing is that all the focus is on Dominic. And I don't know whether that's because I just can't find the energy, or I'm not prepared to put the energy into trying to find some resolution with my late wife. I don't know. I don't know. This is a ramble, but this stuff tends to consume me at this time of year. As I've said, I don't sleep very well leading up to this. Some years are better than others. It's not that I don't sleep, it's just I wake a lot, so I don't really get that deep sleep. If I get too tired, I will take a nap or collapse. It's, just exhaustion is exhaustion. So, it's the nightmares. And I was trying to explain to someone, but I don't know. Those perhaps who are suffering from PTSD, and I hate that term, by the way, but it is what it is. Is that everything gets replayed, and it's slow motion. everything is slow motion and everything is detailed. I can see the light on the blinds and the dishes stacked on the sink, beside the sink, and then the diffused light on the bedroom, through the bedroom door, and the shapes on the bed. And it's like a bad Matrix movie. I can't really put it any other way. And it just plays like a slow motion playbook. If you haven't gathered by now, this is a filicide situation, which is a word that unfortunately many of you may not be familiar with, but you probably are, because you read about it a lot. Too much, really. Recent case in the papers of, I forget where it was, is it Minnesota or Milwaukee or somewhere, where they dragged the bodies of three children out of a lake along with their mother, and their father was dead at home. Apparently he'd shot himself or something, and she did whatever was in her head at the time. It's more common than you think, and I don't think it's necessarily a modern disease by any means or stretch. But people have difficulty wrapping their head around it, and understandably, I guess. How could a mother or a father, or a mother and a father, or whatever, a mother in this case, take the life of her child? And I don't have any answers to that. You can theorize. The only person who can really tell you is not going to tell you. In this case, she's not going to tell us because she's dead. And that doesn't help with immediately, well, not even immediately, just moving on in general, because you've always got questions. Did I do something wrong? Was there more I could do? Is there more others could do? Was it the medication? Down that path lies true madness. But the end result is still the same. My son is dead. I still have one I love very much. And he's with his mum, and that's all good. But Dominic was the glue that kind of bound that family together tightly, and he was loved by not just his brothers and his parents, but by everybody. And the ripples from the rock thrown in that particular pond spread very wide and still spread. Apparently the pond was very deep and very big. Excuse me. So the gift that keeps on giving. Loss. I said today's bad day, but tomorrow will be the very bad day. Well, I shouldn't actually tell myself that, because things have a habit of becoming self-fulfilling when you do that. but this year is hard, harder than most. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to get out of this morning ramble. Problem shared. We all have issues, don't worry. We all carry our baggage around with us. How do you get past this? You don't. It's the easy answer. It's the obvious answer. For those I've met and are aware of this, you know I talk about it. For a while there, I used it as a crutch. I feel bad about that, but as I try and explain to people, when you go through a stupidly life-changing event, and you like anything, but something that involves massive trauma, and I don't know because I've never been in that situation, but I'm assuming this applies to ex-military, people who've gone through other forms of extreme loss, or even physical disability, or, you know, a major life-changing event. You can do three things. You can end yourself. Some people do. And depending on the circumstances, while others may not like that, you know, quality of life, what is the point? It's an option. And I will admit that I did go through that for the longest time. Two, you wallow in self-pity. Boo-hoo, poor me. Why is the world unfair? Why did this happen to me? And you play on it. I'm the victim. And it's unfair and the world owes me. And you all owe me, and, you know. And that's a natural reaction too. I'm just unrelated. I'm not talking about the stages of grief or anything like this. I won't go into that bullshit in too much detail, but this is just my simplistic view. Personal opinion, if you must have a disclaimer. So two, wallow in self-pity. And for a lot of people, I don't think they get out of that cycle. And again, it's understandable. You've gone through something that most people haven't. And option three is the path least travelled, as they say. You refuse, or you choose to refuse, because choice is important in all of this, to be a victim. You choose to not be defined by that event in a negative way. And you basically get on with it. And you work hard to not let that event drag you down. And I don't know, I think you vacillate between those three options. I try to stay away from one, especially on these very, very bad days. Two, unfortunately, is easy. It's an easy fallback. Pity me because I had something horrible happen to me. Ooh. and I don't need pity, and I don't want pity. There was a time when I did, but I've moved on. And 3 is again the path least travelled, or the hard path, or however you want to put it. And I will be honest, I vacillate a little bit into 2, because it's hard to drag yourself fully out of these things. 3 is the attainment. It's the level you want to be at. And particularly when we're dealing with issues like filicide, which is suicide, homicide. So it's all the sides. And then people not really knowing the circumstances or understanding the circumstances, and just not getting how it could happen. And that's okay, because it's a hard thing to wrap your head around. Is talking about this stuff, and hopefully by talking about it and by destigmatizing it somewhat, at least having the discussion, then it may help others. So this has turned into a long ramble, and I'm sorry about that. As I said, I knew what I was going to be talking about, because it consumes me at this time. So anyway, how do you get through it? I think I talked about that briefly earlier. Sorry, my brain's a bit fuddled. I don't know that you do. Some people will medicate, drugs, prescription or otherwise, alcohol, drugs and alcohol, sex, whatever, anything to cut through the noise. Every circumstance is highly personal to the individual, and you can't make judgment. I thought I'd hit the bad spot in probably 2014, 2015. I thought that was as bad as it was going to get, but 2016 was worse. That was very bad. I won't go into the details. But at that point, let's just say I almost lost everything. Again. Found a counsellor who was okay. It's difficult to get a counsellor who actually gets it, because a lot of therapists really can't or don't know how to wrap their heads around murder-suicide. Kind of hard to talk to the people who did it when they're not able to talk to you to understand their frames of mind and reference, I guess. So really all you can do is talk to those who survive. And I consider myself a survivor, not a victim. Victims get preyed upon. Should never be a victim. I get it if you are or think you are, but anyway, we'll talk about that another day perhaps. So how do you get through it all? Drugs, antidepressants, bad news. They may work for some people. I find that it puts me in what I call the dark place. The dark place is not a television program, well, there is a TV program I think called The Dark Place, but the dark place is is that place where you go in your head to avoid having to deal with the immediate trauma. And it is the physical, mental reaction to extreme trauma, I guess is the best way I can describe it. And if you stay in that place for too long, it's just not healthy. And I'll ramble back. When it happened, I went to the dark place. And the best way I can describe it is you feel numb. Like completely numb. And that means you can't feel anything physically, emotionally. You exist. I would like to say that you have clarity of thought, but that would probably be a lie. The times that I went on antidepressants, I felt like I was in that place. Maybe not to that extreme, but it puts you in a place where you can't feel anything. And we're human. We're built to experience things. It's what we're here for. We're built to feel pain and make mistakes. Get it wrong, try again. We're built to experience emotions. That's what being human is about. So medicating yourself to a point where everything is flat and you don't have those extremes of emotions, the top end and the bottom end. I get it. Maybe sometimes it's necessary if things are swinging, the pendulum's swinging too wildly and you need to be stable, but honestly, not for me. I won't judge others on it because, again, every situation's personal. You got to do you. That's again a human thing. You got to do you. So coming back in again to hitting a low, hitting a new low. Hey, I hit the bottom. No, surprise. It was a false trapdoor, false rug, whatever. Down you go. Was a bit of a wake-up call, to say the least. So got some counselling. Again, I've never found the perfect counsellor, but this particular counsellor was probably what I needed at the time. I just needed a neutral party, and because I think I was at that point where I thought I'd come out of step 2 and was well on the way to quote unquote recovery, ho ho ho, but I really wasn't. Nowhere, not even close. We lie to ourselves because we know ourselves so well. Anyway, the thing I took away from that was acceptance. And I might talk about that in another ramble. If anyone cares to hear more about that, let me know directly or in comments or otherwise, I don't know. But the bottom line is this. It's accepting that there are things that happen that are completely outside your sphere of influence, outside your control. and that no amount of energy or time or emotion, commitment on your part really could have changed that outcome. Now that may be true, it may not be true. I'm pretty sure it is true, because that's how you get to that acceptance point. You have to believe in yourself a little, that you did everything. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and what you do from that point on defines you. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're at the 30 minutes mark. I don't even know if anyone is going to get to the end of this. I'm going to leave it here for now. I have a rowdy cat. I've got to try and keep busy today and try not to dwell on things. If anyone ever needs to talk about anything, you need a neutral voice, I'm here. Can I say? I'm happy to help if there's any help required. Ultimately, any decisions that you make come from you, and I guess that's my thought today. Hug your loved ones. Particularly your children. Be kind to yourself, because ultimately you're you. If you can't be kind to yourself, you can't be kind to anyone else. So start there, right? Just be accepting of the fact that sometimes you're going to make mistakes, or that bad things might happen to you in different degrees. Hopefully they don't. I don't want too many. But just accept that this may happen even if you try your hardest. That's okay. Don't let it define you. Don't let it define your actions in the future. Try not to. Enjoy your life. It's the only one you have. You don't know when your clock is going to run out. So make the most of it. All right. I hope you all have a great Friday. Take care. Kia ora. Talk again tomorrow.